If you have already watched this introductory information, you can skip ahead no more than 16 minutes. Hello, welcome. I am predicting that famous singer-songwriter Paul Simon of the famous music duo Simon and Garfunkel will slip and fall to the ground on August 30th and then die as a result of his injuries on August 31st, 2025. This time-stamped email proves that this prediction that Paul Simon will die on August 1st, 2025 has been known since November 9th. We can see here the timestamp November 9th, 2024. On November 8th, 2024, we received the relevant prophetic signs related to Paul Simon. And as I wrote right here, God was pointing to November 8th ahead of time because Simon's death will point to Revelation chapter 8, verse 1. And this is the reason why Paul Simon will die on August 1st, 2025. In short, the date 8:1 and 11:8 hint at Revelation 8:1 in the Bible, which describes a period of silence that was observed in heaven. Paul Simon's first hit was Sound of Silence. As I wrote right here, it is exactly 38 weeks between November 8th and August 1st, 2025, and Paul Simon is predicted to die at the age of 83, for which 38 weeks hints at. All right, the analysis that God was pointing to August 1st was 100% correct. However, Paul Simon did not die on August 1st. Instead, God provided clear and relevant signs related to Paul Simon, which revealed adding 7 more days to reach August 8th. The sign we received was the news report, the breaking of the news of the sale of the storied mansion in Los Angeles that was built for the most prolific TV producer in history, Aaron Spelling, and God uses extremes and records for his signs, who produced the longest-running drama series in history, Seventh Heaven. That's how we get the addition of 7 days to reach August 8th. And Simon is associated with mansions, or I should say in God's signs, mansion theme and symbolism is related to Paul Simon because his biggest solo album was the Graceland album, and the song Graceland is about Elvis Presley's mansion. There's lots to that for why God is using this theme, but this is immediately recognized. I've been following Paul Simon's signs for years now, and I've known about this theme of mansion symbolism for over 3 years. And so that's why it was immediately recognized that this sign involving the sale of this mansion, and one of the big signs is the sale of Paul Simon's mansion. It's not only a mansion sign on August 1st that we received, but the story was the sale of the mansion. And that's again because one of the signs is the sale of Paul Simon's mansion back on July 1st, 2022. And that the details of that prophetic sign are explained elsewhere. Now, another thing about the 7 days connection is Paul Simon at this time on August 1st he still is, but he won't be by the date of August 8th, touring for his new album, 7 Psalms. Okay, so just to review so far, we had God pointing to August 1st ahead of time, the date 8:1, because it describes in Revelation 8:1 a period of silence in heaven, and silence, the Sound of Silence is Paul Simon's first big hit that launched his career. On that day, we received the relevant clear sign, which was the sale of the mansion of the most prolific TV producer who produced the longest drama series in history, Seventh Heaven. Paul Simon's best-selling album was Graceland, and it was his 7th solo album, and this 7th album of Paul Simon's is named Graceland, which is named after a mansion, Elvis Presley's mansion. One of the songs that was one of Paul Simon's big hits on the Graceland album is the song The Boy in the Bubble, which was inspired by the TV movie that was produced by Aaron Spelling, The Boy in the Plastic Bubble. Currently, or at the time of August 1st, Paul Simon was touring for his Seven Psalms album. The seventh heaven sign, in other words, of this that's derived from this sale of this mansion that belonged to the TV producer that produced Seventh Heaven, indicates revealed adding 7 days. There's more confirmation for the fact that God was pointing to August 8th, far more. However, for the sake of simplicity in discussing this here, we received the prophetic sign on August 1st to add 7 days. Now, on August 8th, we received another prophetic, clear, relevant sign regarding Paul Simon, which was the news about the Royal Caribbean cruise ship. And God uses records and extremes for signs, and this is the world's largest cruise ship that this incident occurred on, which was the glass part of the water slide breaking, busting through, causing the person that was sliding to become seriously injured. And this was a slip sliding away sign, one of Simon's big hits, Slip Sliding Away, which comes from the album Greatest Hits, Etc., which was released in 1977. And so that's more confirmation for the prior 7 days connection from August 1st. There was another slip sliding away sign on August 8th, which was the NASCAR driver who slipped on top of his car after he was in the victory lane celebrating and seriously injured himself. He broke his collarbone. That was another slip sliding away sign on August 8th. And this NASCAR driver that slipped from the roof of his car in the victory lane as he celebrated drives car number 88. And this slip sliding away sign occurred on the date 8/8, August 8th. Now, the reason for this slip sliding away cruise ship sign on August 8th is because Revelation chapter 8, verse 8 describes ships. And it is a long story to explain, but the ships described in Revelation chapter 8, verse 8, which is what the date 8/8 hints at with this ship sign, is symbolism for America. The ships are symbolism for America, and that's because of Isaiah chapter 23, which is about America. For those that say America isn't in Bible prophecy, it isn't correct. And the daughter of Tarshish is America in the book of Isaiah chapter 23, and Tarshish is the UK. And so the ships of Tarshish, and therefore the ships of the daughter of Tarshish, are the naval power of the UK and America, which gave these nations supremacy militarily in the world during the 19th and 20th centuries. The point is that this reveals adding 23 days to August 8th to get the date it is predicted that Paul Simon will die on August 31st. Again, because the slip sliding away sign on the cruise ship, the broken slide, points to the ships in Revelation 8:8 because it occurred on the date 8/8. And we know that the ships in Revelation 8:8 symbolize America because of Isaiah chapter 23. That's why we know to add 23 days. There are many more profound reasons for knowing that Paul Simon will die on August 31st, but that's enough for this explanation here that gets us from August 1st to August 31st. It is now recognized that Paul Simon will slip and fall on August 30th, and then die the next day on August 31st as a result of his injuries. What this means is that it is irrelevant what Paul Simon's current state of health is, and there is zero news in the media regarding Paul Simon's state of health. But it is irrelevant anyway, because although I am predicting the death of an old man, it is predicted that he will die as a result of his injuries from slipping and falling the day before he's predicted to die. He's predicted to die on August 31st, but he's predicted to slip and fall to the ground on August 30th. Now, the reason for going into all of this is because it needs to be explained that in reality, or rather essentially, I predicted that Paul Simon would die on August 31st back in November of 2024. Because again, as I explained here, in this email that was written on November 9th, 2024, God was pointing to August 1st, 2025 for Paul Simon's death because of Revelation 8:1, as I explained. And I just now explained the trail of signs that led from August 1st to August 8th to August 31st. And those signs were revealed through knowing August 1st ahead of time. Therefore, essentially, if you are reasonable and you have the eyes to see, I predicted that Paul Simon would die on August 31st back in November of 2024. The reasonable person will recognize that this is true. One last thing to mention here, to make clear, is that back in November of 2024, I predicted that Paul Simon would die in the month of August, because August is the 8th month of the year. And again, Paul Simon's death will point to Revelation chapter 8, which describes a period of silence in heaven, and Paul Simon's first big hit that launched his career was Sound of Silence. But more than that, Paul Simon's precise date is also being predicted. It isn't only that it is predicted that he will die in the 8th month of the year, but specifically August 31st. I am not as confident in these next two predictions number 2 and 3, but it seems that it is possible that dirty bombs will explode in New York City and Los Angeles on September 4th, 2025. There will be a large-scale evacuation from Manhattan Island. This is going to happen. It's just a question of whether this will occur on September 4th. One of the dirty bombs will explode in Penn Station, and another of the dirty bombs will explode in the port of Los Angeles. I am also not confident in prediction number 3, which is that Tehran in Iran and or Damascus in Syria will be nuked. Again, this will happen. It's just a question of whether or not this will occur on September 7th. I am predicting that Kamala Harris and Gavin Newsom will die in a plane crash in St. Louis as they are traveling from Washington, D.C. to Los Angeles in Busch Stadium in St. Louis on August 2nd, 2028. This will be during the predicted presidential campaign of Gavin Newsom. As a result of Gavin Newsom's death, Michelle Obama will become the Democrat Party's presidential nomination. Michelle Obama will, quote unquote, win the election over J.D. Vance on November 7th, 2028, and will become the president on January 20th, 2029. Donald Trump is predicted to run as J.D. Vance's vice president. This scheme to overcome the 22nd Amendment will backfire and inspire Michelle Obama and Barack Obama to run on the ticket with Barack Obama as Michelle Obama's vice president. She will then step down and Barack Obama will become the president again. It is predicted that there will be a massive Mary apparition on the beach in Rio, Brazil on April 24th, 2029. It is now recognized that there will be 2 massive Mary apparitions on the beach in Rio. The first of the 2 is predicted to be on March 22nd, 2029. These predicted Mary apparitions will not be secretive. They will be mainstream, worldwide news. Like all Mary apparitions in history, including at Lourdes, Guadalupe, and Fatima, this Mary apparition will be a demon pretending to be Mary. It is predicted that on April 26th, 2029, the key will open the bottomless pit and fallen angels will cross over into the earthly realm. April 26th, 2029 will be a symbolic beginning to the 5th trumpet judgment that is described in Revelation chapter 9, when the demonic realm collides with the earthly realm. April 26th, 2029 will be a symbolic beginning to demons pretending to be aliens. The demons pretending to be aliens will claim to be here to help us with our nuclear weapons. It is predicted that Pope Francis will be resurrected from the grave on April 26th, 2029, and it is possible that on this day, Pope Francis will announce that aliens have arrived and have made him the ambassador for the world. This will immediately give Pope Francis, the Antichrist, supreme power over governments of the world. April 26th, 2029 will be a symbolic beginning to a zombie pandemic and the masses becoming demonically possessed that will be facilitated through the thing, which is the mark of the Antichrist and 5G frequencies. April 26th, 2029 will be a symbolic beginning to the coming genocide politicide in America. The resurrection rapture event will occur on Pentecost on May 27th, 2029. On September 11th, 2029, there will be a catastrophic asteroid hit of Earth in the Indian Ocean. The greatest seismic effect of this will be felt on the other side of the globe, which is North America, and this will trigger an eruption of Yellowstone volcano and will cause the volcano in the Canary Islands to collapse into the Atlantic Ocean and send a mega tsunami towards the East Coast. It will also trigger the collapse of the Hoover Dam, which will cause a water panic in California, and many other devastating earthquakes. The day of the Lord, the second coming of Lord Jesus Christ, Judgment Day, will be at the end of 2031. The date that this video is posted proves that these predictions are being made ahead of time, as do these time-stamped emails and forensic notes PDF documents. If you are skeptical for some reason, please email me and I will forward these to you. All right, welcome. This video is predicting that famous singer-songwriter Paul Simon of Simon and Garfunkel will die on August 31st, 2025. This video, however, was produced prior to it being learned the way in which Paul Simon will die. It is now recognized through God's true big picture of signs, patterns, and connections, which is only being explained on this channel, that Paul Simon will first slip and fall on August 30th, and then, as a result of his injuries, will die on August 31st. Paul Simon has a big hit, a hit song, Slip Slidin' Away. And this is one way in which God, or through this song and many other prophetic signs, God is communicating that Paul Simon will slip and fall on August 30th and then die the following day. Currently, there is no news of Paul Simon's health. Absolutely no news of Paul Simon's health is in the media. Furthermore, he recently finished a concert tour on August 6th. So as of August 6th, he was healthy enough to perform at concerts. But given now that we know he will die from falling, his health, his state of health, would be irrelevant anyway. So it'd be one thing to predict the death of an old man. He is 83. That said, he could live another 7 years. There's no way to really know that he will die on August 31st because there's no news of his personal health. But more than that, he is predicted to die from falling and suffering from the injuries. And that cannot be known ahead of time. There's no prior warning or heads up, such as a person's health or state of health. Again, just to be clear, Paul Simon is predicted to die on August 31st, yes, and he is old, yes, but he is predicted to die from falling. And that date is known also to be August 30th, which is after today's date. The post date of the video you are watching on the social media platform proves that this video was posted prior to August 30th. And of course, there's no humanly way possible that I could know that Paul Simon will slip and fall on August 30th and then die the following day. In other words, when this prediction comes to pass, it'll prove everything that I say in this video, and that's the purpose of this prediction that is from God. And it is also, of course, to prove that the righteous Christian God of the Bible is the true God. Paul Simon and Art Garfunkel reunited for a free concert in Central Park. one of the largest attended concerts in history. This concert is an important prophetic sign. On February 23, 2024, a famous owl died in Central Park. A number of months prior to the owl's death, it had escaped the Central Park Zoo. It died after it collided with a tower, which was symbolism that hinted at the planes, including an American Airlines flight with a giant eagle painted on its tail that crashed into the Twin Towers south of Central Park. The theme of Paul Simon's new album is of crossing over into the afterlife. The cover art of this Seven Psalms album uses Thomas Moran's Two Owls. Seven Psalms is Simon's 15th solo album. 15 is equal to 5 plus 5 plus 5. The name of the owl that died in Central Park was Flacco. Flacco died 5 plus 5 plus 5 days after Joe Flacco received the NFL's Comeback Player of the Year award at a ceremony before the Super Bowl. Joe Flacco wears jersey number 15, which is 5 plus 5 plus 5. Joe Flacco is known for winning the Super Bowl as the quarterback for the Ravens. Ravens, like owls, are birds with dark symbolism. The Antichrist is the president who was known to be a night owl while in the White House. God uses firsts for signs. The first instance of the word owl in the Bible is in Leviticus 11:17. The Antichrist is described in Zechariah 11:17 in the Bible. The name Bama in the Bible is H11:17 in Strong's Concordance. And that's important because of the equation that God is using that aligns with what Jesus said in Luke 10:18, which is that he saw Satan falling like lightning from heaven. Well, the word Barack Obama means lightning from heaven because the word lightning in Hebrew is Barak, and Bama it means high place, which is this 11:17 word. And in the Bible, the high place is an idiom for heaven, as for example, Lucifer is said to have fallen from the high place. And also the Jews would, the high places is a euphemism in the Bible for the false religious worship that the Jews would conduct on the tops of mountains. So in other words, this Bama isn't a positive really. And anyway, the word for from in Aramaic, the language Jesus would have spoken, is O. And so Barack Obama means lightning from heaven. Either Jesus didn't know what he was saying when he said this, or he knew there would be a famous president and said this anyway, knowing that it would confuse us, or he was revealing the identity of the Antichrist. Obviously, the latter option is the only one that makes any sense. So anyway, we have this owl. Now, and it points to Obama, and furthermore, he was the night owl. Now, the night owl president will make a dramatic comeback and become the president again, which is the prophetic reason for the Comeback Player of the Year award. 5 plus 5 plus 5 days after Flacco got his award, player number 5 plus 5 plus 5, received his Comeback Player of the Year award, the owl named Flacco died. The Antichrist is the basketball president. Flacco died on the same day of a sports news story about Victor Wembanyama's, which hints at Obama, rare 5x5 game. Okay, the Antichrist is the basketball president. So we have this basketball player who had a 5x5 game. His name hints at Obama, the basketball president. Now, a 5x5 game is when a player scores at least 5 points, rebounds, blocks, steals, and assists, which is 5 categories. Wembanyama plays for San Antonio, which is near where Paul Simon currently lives. Okay, now, so this, once again, this Flacco owl died on the same day as the 5x5 game by Wembanyama, which points to Paul Simon because that's where he plays, right near where he lives. And that Flacco owl sign and the 5x5 game was 5 plus 5 days after Flacco won the award, and he wears jersey number 5 plus 5 plus 5. All right. Now, Paul Simon is predicted to die on August 31st, exactly 555 days after the death of Flaco the Owl and Wembanyama's 5x5 game, which was 5 plus 5 plus 5 days after Flaco, player number 5 plus 5 plus 5, received his Comeback Player of the Year award. In other words, all of that serves to confirm this 555 days connection to Simon's predicted death. And we're talking about an owl's death that hinted at Simon's death because of the Seven Psalms album with the owls on it, etc. The most evil king in Israel's history ruled for 55 years. And I believe Satan is mentioned 55 times in the Bible, the word Satan. Simon sang about driving up the I-55 highway to the king of rock and roll's Graceland mansion. The Central Park concert attracted 500,000 people and raised over $50,000 for the Central Park. The 500th word in the concordance is the word for Satan, Antichrist, by the way. The name Paul Simon is equal to 500 in Hebrew gematria. The concert was exactly 500 months before the release of Simon's Seven Psalms album that depicts owls on its cover. And again, the owl died in Central Park where the concert was, and we have this 500 months connection from the concert that was attended by 500,000 people involving Paul Simon, whose name is equal to 500, and there was $50,000 raised from the concert. Now, again, the and the Seven Psalms album, which was released exactly 500 months after with owls on its cover, was released exactly 500 months after the Central Park concert, and the owl died in Central Park. Well, anyway, the Seven Psalms album with owls on its cover is Simon's 5 plus 5 plus 5th solo album. This 555 days in between the death of Flaco the Owl, Wembanyama's 5x5 game, and Simon's predicted death is also 18 months and 8 days. H188 in Strong's Hebrew Concordance is the word that means woe! The fifth trumpet judgment that follows the sound of silence in heaven is the first of the woes in the book of Revelation.